Or maybe it's to support the cable. No, somebody is tapping. No, that's tapping light. So that's how bad the situation is. That there's no access to electricity. Even those who have access, the lights so they go off, go on, blowing things anyhow. We don't even know. And nobody's paying for that, and nobody's even complaining. Who do you complain to? So we say all this complaint will not help. Let's talk about the solutions, all right? And that's why we have this time every Monday, 30 minutes of this amazing time to talk the solutions. We call it Power Solutions. And I'm honored to have the great Dr. Wiebe Boer as my co-host right here.
All right, good morning, Collins.
Good morning.
I always feel awkward coming in, when you and your wife are doing your show, and then I feel like I'm breaking something up. So
No, you don't need to feel that
okay.
way.
All right.
You don't need
okay.
to feel. I think we don't have a problem with having Power Solutions conversation.
Okay, good.
Because it's a matter that we should bring to the fore all the time.
Yeah. So we have a great special guest today, and in the spirit of the movie Namaste Wahala.
Yep.
Which came out a week ago. And is crossover between Nollywood, Bollywood, India, Nigeria. We have an Indian guest today.
Oh.
So we're trying to stay in that spirit. And our guest today, Collins, is a superstar in the global off-grid energy sector. So this is, he's going to be a household name in Nigeria within the next year. So we're going to start it here. So Manoj Sinha is our guest today. He's the CEO and founder of Husk Power Systems, which is an amazing mini-grid company in India. But he's joining us from somewhere in the U.S., I think. So it's like 3 a.m. for him.
Wow.
So he loves Nigeria so much that he said, okay, fine, I'll get up at 3 a.m. and I'll speak to you guys. So Manoj, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you?
Thank you, Wiebe, and I'm doing really well. Just for full disclosure, I did watch Namaste Wahala.
Oh, you watched it? All right. That's good. I think the director was on your show last week.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. She spoke to us on Friday. Was it on Friday? And it was so much fun. And the movie is doing so well.
So maybe next the sequel can be about an Indian company doing a mini grid in Nigerian village.
That would make sense.
And Manoj could be the star, the next star.
I'm telling you. And you'll be the next co-star.
Okay, maybe.
I mean, he started his Nollywood career. And boom, he's on Netflix. I mean, that's unfair, man.
So Manoj, you don't look tired. I don't see coffee, so this is good. But listen, maybe you could kick off by just giving a little bit of your own background, and then we'll jump into Husk and everything else. But just a bit about who you are and why you decided to try and solve the world's energy problems.
Great. So I'm Manoj Sinha. I'm the founder and CEO of Husk Power Systems, a company that I started with some of my co-founders in my home state, Bihar in India, 12 years ago. So we are a 12 years old startup. When we started, so I'm giving a little bit of a history of the company. So we started with a concept of decentralized power generation and distribution. And as your host was talking about, India has exactly the same problem. You will see a lot of wires.
So we're not the only ones.
Wow.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
I'm very familiar with that problem. I grew up seeing that.
Okay.
I grew up when we did not have access to electricity. My home state is roughly 110 million people, and 70 million did not have access to electricity when I was growing up. So it was that thing that I grew up with, that I lived day to day, that really motivated me or inspired me, if you will, to start Husk Power Systems. As for myself, I'm a trained electrical engineer, so don't hold that against me. But because I was trained as electrical engineer, I had no option but to solve this problem that we saw day to day in India. Personally, I did microprocessor design for 5 years at Intel and others.
Wow.
Then I did my MBA. So apologies again for that. And then I went and worked on Wall Street for about 4.5 years. And then I transitioned full time to Husk to run it, to build mini grids in India, as well as now East and West Africa. And we entered Nigeria very recently. We are quite young in Nigeria, but we have pretty ambitious plan to roll out mini grids. So that's me and a bit about company.
I love the last part of that, and I'm very sure that Lagos is looking forward, and Nigeria is looking forward to getting more of you. Now, you hold 7 U.S. patents in the semiconductor industry for circuit design. Wow. tell us briefly about this.
7, no be 1, no be
What?
2, 7. Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm even losing my voice to count it. Tell us.
Um, Yeah, so again, like I said, I did my master's in electrical engineering and I used to work with Intel. So if you go back in time, almost 15 years ago, we were trying to design something that would be a mobile device that can last the whole flight time if you were to fly from the US to, say, Europe, and you do not have to recharge. So I was one of the key designers of electrical part of the microprocessor. The last one that I designed was Atom, a chip that goes into a millions of mobile devices or laptops. So it was those design that really got me very intrigued, and I'm presumably very creative. So that's what got me 7 patents. It's not that big a deal. I mean, solving microprocessors where I have to increase from 5 hours of recharge time to 8 hours, yes, it's difficult. It is not as difficult as solving electricity access problem. I can tell you that much.
All right, but at least we know that the technology behind it will be easy for you. It's the rollout that's probably the tough part, right? So, okay, you told us a bit about the founding of Husk in 2008. And now the company provides affordable electricity to rural people in India and East Africa. So tell us a bit more details about what's unique about Husk and why your model is particularly special. And I think when listeners hear it, they'll know why it's so suited to the Nigerian economy.
Right. So let me start the context again. So going back into 2008 when we started. So like you said, I was in semiconductor industry for my initial part of career. So it was very easy for us to go and find solar PV to use that as a source of energy. But when we started exploring this concept of doing a decentralized power generation, so which is 25 to 50 kilowatt generating unit, small distribution network that doesn't run beyond 2 to 3 kilometers and serves the customers in that region, right? So when we started doing that, we looked at what are the sources of energy that we can use. Solar PV was easy, but it was very, very expensive. Back then, it was $5 per watt, $5 US.
Okay.
Per watt.
Okay.
So then we looked at other sources of energy, and in India, it's a heavily rice-producing country, and my home state is among top rice-producing states. So that's when we came across rice husk, which is a waste product of milling rice crop, and that's how we really started using rice. So we discovered, if you will, a biomass gasification process that uses rice husk as an input or a feedstock. You heat it up to a certain temperature, converts to gas, cool it down, and run an engine to generate electricity through an alternator. So that was the genesis of this idea of using locally produced agricultural waste and convert that into clean electricity to provide to customers or people in the rural areas. So that was the start. Why is that relevant? It really allows us to lower the cost of electricity generation because the sources or the feedstock is all local and you are able to use it in a productive manner. What we did, if you fast forward that to 2014, 2015 timeframe, we came up with this unique offering of hybrid minigrid solution. So we combined solar PV in 2008 was $5 per watt. In 2014-15, it was less than $1 per watt. Right. So the prices came down. So what we did was we hybridized solar PV for daytime supply.
Okay.
We still use biomass gasification for evening time, say 5 p.m. to midnight, and then battery as a bank so that we can do 24/7. It is affordable, much cheaper than diesel genset. And thirdly, it allows us to provide 24/7 power no matter what. It is raining or there's no sunshine, it doesn't matter. With this unique combination, we are able to deliver 24/7 at a very high degree of reliability. So I'll pause there. It might be a lot of information to consume.
That right there, my friend, I can say is what you call power solutions. And it's 41 minutes. No, I should say it this way. 19 minutes at the top of the hour. You're listening to Power Solutions on Nigeria's number one for talk. Our guest this morning is the CEO and founder of Husk's Power Systems. in person of Manoj Sinha. Well, let me just go back to Husks. You have a vision to be the world's largest off-grid utility, providing 24/7 renewable and affordable power. Which, of course, you just mentioned even in your comments, one of the products, and to drive this inclusive and sustainable growth in emerging markets. Tell us briefly where you are with achieving this vision, and what are some of the major milestones? I know you talked a bit about that of the company so far.
So we are still quite young, though we have been at it for 12 years, but there are a lot of things that needed to move to where we are at. So we have roughly 100 plus operating minigrids in India and Tanzania. We have started building our first 5 minigrids in Nigeria. So we are very, very early in Nigeria. So with this portfolio of 100 plus minigrids, we are serving more than 5,000 small business and MSME customers. And that relates to the last point that you mentioned about our Husks vision, right? To be not only providing electricity, but we really want to provide that so that we can spur the economic activities in the rural areas. That is why we exist. It is not just electrons that we want to provide, which is the basic minimum thing, so that you can turn on your light, you can get basic access to electricity. But what we really do or excel in is spurring the economic activity through productive uses of power, which means you can make your rice, which means you can process your corn, or you can dry your cassava if you wanted to in Nigeria, and things of that nature. That's what really makes us more unique than anybody else. Our ambition is, like I said, we have roughly 100 odd minigrids. In the next 5 years, we want to 10x our footprint, which means we want to be 1,000 plus minigrids by 2024-2025 timeframe, and serve more than 150,000 small business and MSME customers across India and Nigeria.
Wow. Okay, so you talked about, you have mini grids in Tanzania, you're coming into Nigeria. As we know, there's roughly 600 million people in Africa, about 100 million of those in Nigeria that aren't connected to the grid. So are we doing enough with renewable energy? I mean, is the momentum there? Or do you think a lot more has to happen before we can really hope to see a dent in that number?
So I think there's a lot of room for accelerating deployment of renewable technology, right? So let me step back a little bit. If we go back, I think 10 years or even 15 years ago, the world, including India, we did not start with expanding the telephone line, which was a landline, right? Probably landline. The current generation of kids don't even know what landline is. So the technology catapulted or leapfrogged to cell phone technology. We are in that kind of momentum right now. So the most capital efficient way to deliver electricity to people, especially for rural areas, it is by far the decentralized way of electrifying, which is minigrids. Now, when you are doing that, you can again use the age-old coal or diesel. But why do that when the solar and the other biomass gasification and the batteries are already cheaper than these alternatives? So you can actually leapfrog.
And cleaner, and much cleaner, obviously, and much cleaner.
Correct. So, and it is 100% clean, right? So you can leapfrog both on using, if you had $100 billion, how do you use it to electrify, like you said, 600 million people in Africa, but it impacts roughly 3.5 billion people around the world, both who do not have access to any power and others who have access to unreliable power, right? So this is the most capital efficient way, and this is the cleanest way and the fastest way to provide electricity to people who don't have it at all, or who have it, but it is very intermittent.
It's 11:45 in the heart of the African continent here in Lagos, Nigeria. And we're talking about using innovation to drive down the cost of rural power in our society. Of course, that's our topic today on Power Solutions. Now, you just mentioned in the African continent. What is Africa missing when it comes to fixing the power problems, fixing power using innovations? And why is this important?
So the power is basically an infrastructure segment, right, for any country, whether it is any country in Africa or Asia or wherever else. So when you are talking about infrastructure that impacts or touches the lives of people, the first thing is policy and regulations. And I have to compliment Nigeria because of a very clear-cut policy on minigrid
Wow.
and
All right.
We
And by the way, what it took us in India, it took us 8 years to get a minigrid policy implemented in 2 states in India, which was 2016. Nigeria adopted quite a bit of that policy framework in 2016 itself, or early 2017, which was very quick. But what was really, really great is Nigeria has already been working on interconnected minigrid, which is unique, a very forward-looking policy-making process. And I think the rest of the world, including India, can take this great innovation that Nigeria is making to accelerate their minigrid. So that's one. The infrastructure policy making is the enabling factor of any intervention. Second is, when you're looking at solar or battery or anything else, these are mostly commodities. And again, there are a lot of things that prevents us from bringing the prices down. And one of the things, at least in Nigerian context, might be the customs and the import process. It is a long process. It takes time to bring goods to the site that we are delivering. So that is another hurdle. The last one, which is which can be very quick, is on the software or artificial intelligence based algorithm that can help me manage tens of thousands of these minigrids. I don't have to have 10,000 people to manage these minigrids remotely. So those are the three components that I will say that can really spur the innovation.
Yeah. No, but it's really good to hear what you're saying about the regulation in Nigeria, that in that way we're actually ahead. So I think kudos to the Rural Electrification Agency, to NERC, to the Ministry of Power. We often think that you have to look to a country like India as a model to follow, but it looks like in this case Nigeria is a step ahead. So thanks for calling that out. But Manoj, I wanted to dig a little deeper on your rice husk gasification process. Now, obviously here in Lagos, where most of our listeners are, it's an urban area. We don't necessarily grow rice right here, but I mean there is rice processing here. But obviously many listeners in Lagos have connections to their rural areas where there is rice. But in addition to rice, what are the other potential agricultural feedstocks that could be used? And what does a community need to have? Like how much rice production, what kind of systems do they need to have in place to make it a fit for a husk minigrid?
Right. So again, in Nigerian context, to be specific, and we are installing our minigrids in Nasarawa region, which is a rice producing area to begin with. So what we really need is, so we are installing between 50 and 100 kilowatt systems, which means we'll be needing roughly 20 to 30 tons of rice husk if we were to use rice husk as a feedstock. For generating 20 tons of rice husk, the rice production has to be 100 tons.
And how much? That's how much you need per annum, or that's how much you need per month, or what? The 20 tons
per month.
Per month. Wow. Okay.
Right. Which is not a whole lot, trust me.
It's not. It sounded like a lot. It sounded like a lot. Okay.
Right. It sounds like a big number, but for the regions that we are operating in or going to operate in Nasarawa, they have plenty. So the feedstock shortage will not be a problem. So what does a village need to have? All that they need to have is some kind of processing or rice milling so that we can procure it directly from the rice mill and not from individual farmers. Otherwise, it becomes a challenge to do that in an economical fashion. Can we use other feedstock? Absolutely, yes. So that was one of the key discoveries that we made. So we didn't keep our gasification system to be dependent only on rice husk because we knew that we are going to go in other countries. We can use other feedstock like corn cobs.
Okay.
Cobs. We can use cassava, at least in experiment. We think the outer layer, we can use it as a feedstock too. So any woody biomass waste that contains less than 30% moisture has some calorific content in it can be used in our system.
Wow. Okay.
Now, our time is fast spent, really. A number of questions, but I'll go straight with this one. Do you think Africa can achieve affordable and clean energy by 2030?
So that one is a tall order. If countries are as progressive as Nigerian regulators are, then I have very high hopes that it can be. Regulation is the main hurdle for bringing both companies like us and, most importantly, bringing hundreds of billions of dollars to the country. Right? If the regulation framework is very clear, investors will come in, right? And if that obstacle is blown through, I have no doubts that 2030, yes, we will achieve. I mean, think about it. We are a small company. Today in India, we can install one new minigrid every third day.
Wow.
Wow.
So is it possible? Absolutely, yes. How can it be possible in real life? The government regulators like REA in Nigeria can open the floodgates by doing the right policy framework.
Well, and just to dig in a little bit on that, you did mention there's some policy and regulatory innovations that Nigeria introduced that India could learn from. But what are some of the innovations in India that maybe the government could learn from and basically just adopt and integrate into Nigeria?
So going back to the minigrid policy was first instituted in India, in the world in 2016. So that's what was adopted by Nigeria REA. And what else can be adopted? So if you look at solar part itself, right? The solar prices in India, it's so cheap that you would hate to actually buy a diesel generator set. It's economical. And how did that happen? So they really set very ambitious target for India, right? It started with actually 120 gigawatt, and they accelerated that to 400 gigawatts in a decade.
Okay.
That is super ambitious.
Okay.
And then underlying policies also changed. So we still have some customs on importing of panels, etc., from China and other countries that produce it. But that threshold was reduced to zero for about 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Because India itself did not have that manufacturing capability and capacity. So if you have to meet the ambitious target, you allow the import to happen, free of cost, and then you start imposing a little bit of customs duty so that in the country you can build manufacturing capacity and capability and generate jobs. So you solve both the problems by using the floodgate for 5 years. Then you impose customs duty in an escalated fashion or a de-escalated fashion so that in-house or in-country you can build those manufacturing capacities.
Okay. All right.
Wow. That's indeed. That sounded like a masterclass. I was listening, like I was taking notes to go implement, and I'm hoping that those who are in the positions of authority to ensure that the right policies are put in place and the right regulation is done, so that we can fix this fire problem, are listening and are going to act on these great words from our guests this wonderful morning.
Yeah, and I think it's great to know that across Nigeria we can use cassava waste.
Yeah.
Rice waste, maize waste, all of this stuff that right now we probably just throw away and maybe just burn or just throw, now it can actually be used for productive, to generate power that then actually adds to your economy. And as Manoj said, they're starting in Nasarawa State, which is next door to my home state of Plateau, so I'm very happy about that. But I think listeners here, like if you know that your rural communities produce these crops at scale, I mean, Husk, look at the Husk Power website and figure out how you can collaborate with them. If they're going to want to do hundreds and several hundred or 1,000 mini grids in Nigeria, they're going to need a lot of communities to partner with. So it's up to you to now pull them and bring them home, and figure out how you can work with them. So Husk, it's HUSK.
Yep.
Husk Power. I think it's easy to find. I think it's the only company with a name like that in the world. And so we're very excited that you guys are coming to Nigeria in a big way. And I think the market is ready for you. And we should have him on again maybe in 6 months, a year, and hear real life stories of how it's gone. So Manoj, we're very excited about what's coming.
Yes, indeed. Just to confirm the name again, Husk, HUSK, Power Systems. And I guess that's what the website, you just search for it, you get the website.
Exactly.
And you can get more information.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wiebe. Thank you, our guest, for coming again. It's been a very explosive conversation. It almost feels like we shouldn't let you go, but we have to go. And thank you.
All right. So, any final words at 3 a.m. for you?
I'm just thankful to be here, and I'm very excited about actually my team in Nigeria. Again, we operate in multiple countries, but the motivation of the team and the energy of the team that I have seen, we are all Nigerians in Nigeria. We are about 10 people right now, is unbelievable. They are so highly energetic. They are so highly motivated. And because of that, I'm so confident that we are going to deliver not one, not two, but thousands of minigrids in Nigeria. So thank you.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
A big amen to that.
All right.
Thank you there.
Thanks, Manoj.
Oh, Wiebe.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That's it for the Power Solutions today. We have to go. Our time is really fast spent. Wiebe, how do you feel listening to the gentleman?
It gives you hope, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you use the sun, you use agricultural waste, and you generate power, and you solve Nigeria's major problem. It's a no-brainer.
I'm telling you. Thank God for Power Solutions. Next week, Monday, we'll be here again with another guest. We look forward to you joining us. It'll be fun. I promise you that. Wiebe?
All right. Do I get to close out today?
Yes.
I don't even know how to, because you're the pro.
Just say bye.
Okay. Goodbye, Lagos. This is Wiebe.
And I'm Collins.
Wiebe. You cut in. I'm doing the Collins Teke thing. This is Wiebe. Boer.
Guys, enjoy. The news coming up after that, and then the sunny side.
We've been falling too deep now.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.